Hey, I'm Guy Bouchard and I'm the president of Top Down Investments, and today we are going to do a quick video on financing. And this is related to real estate, of course, and we've had some questions and some inquiries just about how we acquire and what we got to do to acquire and what all the implications are, and so hopefully we can answer some of those questions. But let's start with who requires financing. Pretty simple. It's anyone not using 100% cash. Anytime you have to borrow any money for any situation in anything, you are using financing of some sort. What is the financing? It's typically a conventional mortgage, it's a private loan, it's a hard money loan, or a bridge loan. All of these things typically fall under the financing umbrella. Of course, construction loan is in there as well. But when do you need it? When you need financing is either before, during, and after any project that you're looking for financing on. This is typically through, the points of a project where you need it typically are going to be subject removal. You're going to need the cash for closing, and you're also going to need it for the completion. Those are kind of the main components, or the major milestones, I should say, where financing is going to be required. You do have to keep in mind that financing, especially in today's world, like everything else, is just that much more delayed. So you never want to wait until you need the money to go out and try and find it, because the process that you have to go through in order to get it is pretty rigorous, and typically it's taking 2, 3, 4 times longer than it normally did. So you always want to be prepared with when you need the money well in advance of the actual time that you need it. Where do you get financing? Well, it's pretty straightforward. It's either banks or lenders, which are one and the same, but at the end of the day, anybody that's giving you money or giving you financing with any kind of a payback criteria attached to it, it becomes financing. Why would you need financing? Well, it's because you don't want to use all of your cash, or you don't want to use all of your cash. That can typically be through the process of needing it for due diligence. You could use it for construction and renovation. You can use it for carrying costs. You can use it for contingency. You're going to need it during refinance. And the most important of all is because when you use financing, you increase your returns. And the basic premise for that is the less money and the less cash that you physically put into a deal, or an investor puts into a deal, the more return you get out of that deal. And so that's typically why people use financing, because you can borrow large amounts of money for relatively inexpensive interest rates, which have a much bigger impact when you can roll your cash over into other deals and be able to leverage more of your money. How do you get financing? Great question. And number one, you have to qualify for it. Qualifying for financing is pretty much a part of every single process. I have not really seen any kind of a situation that doesn't require something in order to get the financing. And the typical ways you're going to do that is you're going to be offering some kind of security, whether that's on the property that you're working on, whether it's on another property, whether it's on somebody else's property, whether it's on stuff. There's a whole bunch of ways that you can offer security, and depending on your situation, those are always going to vary. But if you're using a bank or majority of private lending or real estate lending, they're going to want to secure it against some kind of an asset. And typically, it's the one you're doing work on, so that if you mess up, they can take it back from you. Your experience is a big deal in any situation. Anytime somebody is looking for money, somebody that is giving money is going to want to make sure that that person knows what they're doing with it. So experience, in my honest opinion, it supersedes everything. If people are comfortable with who you are and the fact that you know how to do what you're doing, all of the other things can take a back seat, and that usually operates on a trust level, which is gained through the experience. And then of course the deal pro forma. You can qualify for money, and you can offer as much security as you want, and you can have as much experience in the world. But if the deal doesn't work, A smart person is not going to put money into that deal because it's a lost cause. And typically, you know, the security that you're offering is like a worst case scenario. They don't want to take what you are offering typically, but in the event that they do have to take it, it's a long process, it's an expensive process, and it's just complicated. So everybody wants to know that the deal you're getting into works. And with all of those things wrapped up in a nice bow, you're typically going to get the best financing and the best rates, and you're going to get the best deal for your deal. So that's kind of a quick overview and a very quick summary of financing in general. Now, what does it cost? People always ask, what does money cost? What are the parameters and what are the borrowing numbers here? So just to give you a really quick breakdown, if you're going to be in the 1 to 6% range, this is going to be conventional lending. So this is conventional lending, typically from some kind of a bank that is taking a first charge or a first mortgage against some kind of an asset that values out at the end of the day. Then you're going to go into the next stage, which is probably your 6 to 15% range. And this is going to be where you're using private money. So this is going to be a private investor and your B lenders. Your B lenders are going to fall under this category as well. Typically, when you're in this range, again, you're offering some kind of security against an asset that makes everybody comfortable. The more security and experience you have, the more you're going to be over in this side of the bracket, and the less experience and the less security you're able to offer, or the riskier it is, the more you start leaning into that category. Then you've got your 15% plus deals, and people ask me all the time, how in the world or why in the world would you ever pay 15% interest? Every single thing that I do in any kind of a real estate deal is always based on numbers. And so we run the calculations, and this just becomes a cost. And if it works in the deal and the deal can afford to pay the money, I've paid way more than 15% in some cases. But you want to get in and out of this kind of an interest rate as quickly as possible, because these are your hard money lenders. Hard money lenders, and well, if you can just call it what it is, you can get into loan shark territory. Now, of course, there's regulations, and the regulations, just so many of you know, if you don't know, in Canada, the maximum allowable interest rate that you can charge is 60% annual. That is legal. It's very expensive, but it's legal. But anything over that is illegal. So if anybody's ever asking you to pay more than 60% annual return, you're into a territory that you might want to start getting some advice from. But at the end of the day, that's sort of your general area of where we know and we play and where any kind of financing is going to wind up. And so hopefully we've answered some questions, and there's a lot of information here. If you want to know more, you can click on the link, or you can go to topdowninvestments.com, and we'll see you there.